beautiful souls, and welcome back to Kravela, the place where emotional eating meets healing, peace, and joy of nourishing yourself with love instead of guilt. Today, we're doing something a little different and a little delicious because healing isn't only about emotions, it's also about giving your body foods that comfort you without hurting you. And I know when cravings hit, we emotional eaters often go for the quickest fix. But today I want to show you something magical. Comfort food can be healing food. And emotional eating can be transformed into emotional nourishment. So, in this episode, we're making two warm, cozy, soul settling recipes quinoa and butternut squash delight. A grounding, filling, nutrient rich bowl that feels like a hug. Pumpkin pie in a cup. Yes, dessert. But the Kravela way. Light, whole, satisfying, without the sugar crush. These recipes aren't just food, they're a message to your body. I'm taking care of you now. We're doing this differently. So take a deep breath. Let's get into our healing kitchen. It's great to be here and I love the smells of fall food, and today we are going to be making a really fun one. I want you guys to grab the concept of simple whole foods that you just put together and make some really amazing combinations. So let's get going right away. I'm going to bring my camera down here with me. You may or may not be familiar with some of these. This in particular is a leek. It looks like a giant green onion, and again, what I love about it, like any other recipe that we do, is you can interchange the ingredients. If leeks aren't the one you like to eat, you could change them out with the green onion. I remember a few weeks ago I didn't have a leek, so I just used green onions and it worked just fine. So I'm currently heating up the skillet. I'm just using some organic vegetable broth here. You know this broth? They make some with no salt and with low sodium. I like to get no salt and then I just season it myself because broths and soups tend to be highly salted. And again, those things kind of hijack our palates a little bit. So I'm just going to use about a tablespoon of this or two, just going to get this hot in here, and we're going to cut a leek. Leeks, oh my god, they're kind of an interesting thing as far as cutting goes. Once you get up to the green parts, then they get very woody. You can see here. So with end up, we are not using a lot of it anyway. So I'm just going to cut them into thin little pieces, thin little rounds, and you'll find the bottom part is super tough. But you'll notice as I'm cutting, these are starting to turn a little bit green, but I can still cut pretty easily when it gets to the part that is super tough. And sometimes I've had leeks where I could only go like that far before. It was just too hard to cut. And so I just going to chop these some much bigger round. It's probably a scant of leeks, and so group these up and put them in a pan. We're just going to let these cook a little bit, and if your pan starts getting dry, add a little broth.
And again, this is just a healthier way of cooking that I learned years ago from Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He is a medical doctor that went holistic and he just taught me a lot of tricks with vegetables. And one of them is that we are accustomed to sauteing everything in oil. And you can add that oil flavor if you would like at the end and keep the goodness of, for instance, of extra virgin olive oil. It's actually really healthy if you have got olive oil from a good source, but when you heat it, it changes the nutrient value. So I like to add oil on at the end, but you can saute everything with a little bit, either water or broth. And so the next thing we are going to do is, while those are sauteing a few minutes and just about minutes, we're going to add the garlic at the end. If you're not a big on garlic, maybe just put in 1 clove for a little bit of flavor. If you're big on garlic, you might throw in another one, but just crushing with your big knife. Crushing this garlic makes it a lot easier to mince. And if you mince your garlic and just let it sit on, like I'm just going to let it sit on the cutting board here, just for a few minutes, there's some part of garlic that develops more if it just sits out just for a few minutes, and it's called allicin. It's the component in garlic that has medicinal properties. And so I just like to let it sit on the cutting board for a minute. And I always put it in the last minute of cooking because you don't need to cook garlic that much. And so butternut squash can be a real change if you don't have good equipment. If you go on Amazon, this is literally called magic peeler and it does the job. So if you have a large, you can see here, I had a pretty large butternut squash. Peel all of it. But if it's too slippery for you to hang on to and peel like this, you can always just set it down on the cutting board and peel that way. But you can see how easy this is coming off. When I first started using butternut squash with my 8-year-old peeler, it didn't work very well. I got very discouraged. It was just hard to peel a butternut squash because it would just take so long. But this was so quick to peel, and so now we are just basically cubing this. And I'm just going to stir these leeks just a little bit again, just to keep them from sticking to the pan. And you can see I've already got some of these butternut squash cut up just in bite-sized cubes is all. Real easy way to do this is just taking your knife and cutting about half-inch slices like this. Again, you're using your piano hands. If you haven't been on here before with us, if you curve your fingers like you're playing the piano, you will never cut off a chip. So then I'm left with pieces like this, and then it's super easy just to turn them on their side. Cut those in half. You can also use the bridge cut where you slide your hand through a bridge that you've made with your hand. That's another way. And then once I've got these all laid out like this, then I can just take this and cut them all at one time. And I've just got my cubes going just like that. I'm obviously going to have some butternut squash left over. And I'm going to show you the leeks here. You can see how the bottom of the pan starting to get a little bit brown. I'm just going to add a little bit more broth, and you can see this. Stainless steel pan, that brown on the bottom just comes up super easy. And these leeks are starting to get fragrant. That kind of tells you that they are where they need to be. Now I've got my garlic and I'm just going to add the garlic here. Stir it around for about a minute and then we're going to go ahead. Here's a tip for you guys. Every night before I go to bed, you guys, this is just another secret. Just to help myself stay organized, I just asked myself, okay, do I need to soak anything for tomorrow? Last night I remember I was already up in bed and realized I needed to soak the quinoa. And the reason, again, if you're new and you haven't heard me explain this, just in a nutshell, the reason why we soak anything from a quinoa or a rice or a nut or any kind of grain or nut or bean is because it makes it easier to digest, and just a little bit on that. So when we eat something like this, it has an outer coating on it to protect itself. It's very hard many times for our body to digest, and so we will experience bloating, gas, or just uncomfortable symptoms happen in our body. That's one of the reasons that you soak things. Another reason that you do by soaking them, it makes your body absorb the nutrients in that food much better. So all the vitamins and mineral content, your body gets so much more out of it. So it's kind of you get 2 bonuses for doing one thing from soaking. If you guys can see this quinoa, I soaked it last night and then this morning I rinsed it really good. It's already starting to sprout, and when we sprout anything, the nutrient value multiplies by the hundreds. I mean, it's an amazing thing. And back in the day, early traditional cooking, our ancestors, that was just something they naturally did. They soak everything and sprout things. I'm going to add just a little more vegetable broth to leeks and the garlic. Now we are ready to add the majority of the rest of our broth in the recipe. I'm going to go ahead and put it over here on the pan so you guys can see. There you go. We added the garlic. We're adding the remaining broth, which is about 2 cups. And then we're going to add the squash and the quinoa. I love pan dishes. This is going to be so nice because we are just putting it all in one pan. While we are just going to stir that up a little bit, we are going to bring this to a boil. So you want to put it on like medium to medium high to bring this to a boil. And again, this liquid is all going to be absorbed by the quinoa, and then the squash is going to cook at the same time. Just bring this to a boil. You probably can see it's boiling now. So now we're just going to turn the heat down and we're going to cover it. This liquid can absorb. I'm going to turn that down south. We just need minutes. It basically you are just going to see, do a taste on the butternut squash to see if it has softened. And where are my cutting board? Okay. When you soak them, they get a little lighter in color, and of course, they're going to be softer. They still have some crunch, but I just soaked walnuts. You only have to soak for about 4 hours. They're not as much and then like the cashews that we're going to use in our crustless and our pumpkin pie in a cup. It also soaked them, but you don't have to. And if I have time, I always soak them and I enjoy them because I noticed a difference in my digestion. But there's a plenty of times I don't have time and they don't get soaked. But once this is done, then we are going to throw in the spinach. Well, I don't have time for the spinach to chop it up, but we have to chop it and it's going to chop. Before we get into making the pumpkin pie in a cup, so I've just got my spinach leaves. These spinach leaves are a little bit bigger. These are grown locally. A lot of the spinach you see at the grocery store is baby spinach. I've just got this huge pile. This is one of those times again when I use the larger knife. And when I have a bunch of greens that I'm trying to cut, I just kind of gather them up. So I cannot lose too many of them flying around, and again just keeping my piano fingers where the knife's going to slide right down my knuckles, and we are going to stick this in. Right when it's done at the end, just to weld the spinach, and you can leave it raw as well if you want. I probably have a little more than 2 cups. But that's okay, it was pretty close. We've got this ready. Just like the recipe says, you can use currants or raisins, or you could leave that out as well. I love to use the fruit juice sweetened cranberries. I just have them right here, and sometimes they stick together. Well, there's a sweetened with cane sugar, but this is a brand called Eden, and you can order these on vitacoast.com. Then these are sweetened white apple juice. I always follow my formula, which is to double the vegetables or even more than that, but at least double the vegetables in that particular recipe. And if that recipe had sugar, I just automatically cut it in half. And then, of course, I learned to use better sugar sources. So, white sugar, I just got it completely out of my kitchen because it's just poisonous. Poisonous in so many ways, not just for cravings, but it just damages every cell in our body. So, this particular recipe called for 1.5 cups of either currants, raisins, or cranberries. I just cut it in half, and 1 cup is just fine. When we get this all in a dish, a nice bowl, and you can either stir them into it, or you can just sprinkle them on top. But it's plenty. And what if you don't want to have one of these in every bite? Same with the chopped walnuts that we're going to put in. And if walnuts don't agree with you, or you can't have them, or you don't like nuts or walnuts, you can change them for another nut. That would be really good in pecans. I love pecans and cranberries together. So we've got these ready to go in, and we've got our spinach ready. And now I'm just going to take you over to my blender. And while this is continuing to cook, we're going to jump right into the pumpkin pie in a cup. We are making this quinoa recipe. It's great with shredded chicken. Sometimes I will just pull, I'll either make some in a slow cooker, or you can also cook it over the stove at the same time. I'd love to keep some chicken that I've already cooked that's in the freezer, and I can just pull it out and throw it in there. So there are different ways to add more, any kind of meat to this as well. Ground turkey would probably really be good. Pumpkin pie in a cup. We are going to make this pumpkin pie in a cup. So right here, I'm going to bring you down to my board. This is my homemade pumpkin puree. And again, if you are interested in this recipe, it is super easy. You put them in the slow cooker and you can buy little sugar pumpkins. When they are done, you just scoop out the inside, throw it in the blender, and you have your own homemade pumpkin puree. And it tastes so much better than the store bought. I can't even explain it. So, to make pumpkin pie in a cup, we're going to start by making the cream, and that's where our cashews come in. I've got my cashews here. We are just going to put this in the blender, and then you can use any kind of almond milk. I usually make homemade almond milk and use that. We are going to put it in a cup with the cashews. The cream. You can see this cream. If you let it sit in the refrigerator once we make it overnight, it's even better. And then I just put some dates with some warm to hot water on it. And if you use medjool dates, they're soft to begin with or softer. Anyway, you can see how soft these are. I'm going to throw those in. And we're going to blend this up. I tried this recipe with stevia or monk fruit, and you probably could use that too. You can't really taste the dates in this cream. You mainly just taste the cashews. This gets really thick from the cashews. Put it in the refrigerator, it's going to thicker up even more. Pour it into the dish and then mix up the pumpkin pie part of this in a cup. I just leave. I don't even rinse the blender out. You can just leave this in there, it will be just fine. Now I'm going to place that in the refrigerator for a minute. We've got the pumpkin pie part. We're just going to add the pumpkin puree. Okay. And now I'm adding in cashew cream. It's usually thicker than that because instead of a cup this time I just put half a cup. So that's why it was a little bit runnier. But no worries, what I can do to thicken that up is add a few more cashews. That's a great thing about food too. You can always fix it. The secret ingredient is cannellini beans, and they look like white kidney beans. They have already soaked them and pressure cooked them. But if you were to buy them dry, as I have some in my cupboard. This is what they look like dry, and so we are going to add half a pack in here. So we've got our pumpkin puree, our cannellini beans, and now we're going to use half a cup of milk and then some pumpkin pie spice, the teaspoon of that, and then half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Then we're not going to put in the pecans. So you've just got, and we've got to have half a cup of dates, and I soaked them as well. Now we are just going to blend that up. No, okay. So now you're just going to have to pretend that my cashew cream is thicker. I will, after we're done here, add some more cashews to that and reblend it, and it gets it thicker. But basically what I do now is just take some of this pumpkin pie mix, put it in a little serving dish, and then I would just take a dollop of the thicker cashew cream, and there is your pumpkin pie in a cup. So again, when you bake a pie or anything, it's just better the next day when those flavors have had time to marry. Anyways, I love this because you feel like you're eating pumpkin pie, but you're not dealing with the crust, and it tastes amazing. When I asked people if they liked it, and I've tried it out on a lot of people, they're always like, yeah, this is so good. And then they're just stunned when they find that there are beans in this recipe. This is protein rich and would be part of my meal and not a separate dessert. You can see here our butternut squash dish is done too. See, I can bring this across and all that liquid is absorbed. And I'm thinking I could have put more butternut squash in here. But anyway, now I will add the spinach and I'm going to go ahead and throw in the nuts and almost the cranberries. Oh, I wish you guys were here. It smells so good. You can add shredded chicken if you want to serve this as your main dish. You can add a few cranberries on top to make it look pretty. Yes, so pretty. And again, if it tasted a little bit like it needed a little drizzle of olive oil, I could put that over it. And I once heard it said that you can never have a bad day if you try. Just reflect on and even write down what you are grateful for because that changes everything.
There you have two healing, cozy, emotional eater approved recipes that nourish your body and calm your cravings. I hope as you make these dishes, you remember something important. With food, you don't have to punish yourself with food. You can comfort yourself with food that loves you back. Healing is never about restriction. It's about replacing the old patterns with gentle, supportive, soul-filling choices. If you try these recipes, I would love to see your creations. Tag me at Travela or share in the comments how they made you feel. And don't forget to join me in the next episode where we are going deeper into the healing kitchen. Next week on Travela, free sweet treats that actually taste good and keep you out of the binge cycle. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Until then, be gentle with your cravings. They are just emotions looking for comfort. And you, yes, you are learning how to comfort yourself in the most beautiful way. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and learning. Bye bye.